Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard 8th edition major leak video. Today we will be looking at the Hellhound and the Basilisk. So sort of finishing off some of the fast attack choices and moving on to some of the heavy support choices. So at the end of last video we sort of talked about Tauroxes and Chimeras and how we were, and Armor Sentinels. We weren't really sure. We sort of came to the conclusion that those vehicles are expensive, but they're not bad. They're not absolute balls out amazing, but they're not absolutely terrible either. They're very, very average. Coming on to the Hellhound and the Basilisk, we're starting to see some of the real new winners of this Imperial Guard Index. Okay? So this should be a nice feel-good episode, this one. So if we take a look at the Hellhound first, it's a pretty good vehicle all around, guys. When I first sort of saw the Hellhound when it was first released, my initial reaction was to hate it. But after looking at it and thinking about it for a while, it's actually pretty good. So obviously, in the Hellhound chassis, we have the Hellhound, the Devil Dog, and the Bane Wolf. Now, they all have exactly the same stats. They've got, at full strength, movement 12, ballistic skill 4+, attacks 3, weapon skill 6+, strength 6, toughness 7, wounds 11, and that's a 3+ save. So, at full strength, this thing is getting around pretty quickly at 12 inches a turn. And it's pretty tough at 11 wounds. And it's also pretty good with its 3+ save. Toughness 7 is pretty good. It is essentially like a Chimera. It's just a Chimera without the transport capability and the ability to shoot people instead. You know, or should I say, a greater capacity to do damage. So if we have a look at the new standard loadout, each Hellhound, Devil Dog, and Bane Wolf comes with a heavy bolter and then their signature turret weapon. So the Hellhound comes with an Inferno cannon, Devil Dog comes with a melter cannon, and the Bane Wolf comes with a chem cannon. Now, if we take a look at those stats straight away, we're going to see some pretty interesting things. So the chem cannon has the standard 8-inch range of template. So that has in a way been buffed, because previously, the chem cannon would have to literally get point blank to cover multiple models, whereas now you can stay back 8 inches and still fire your shots. Now, it only gets heavy D6, so a lot of you are going to be groaning at that, but the chem cannon does hit automatically, which is pretty fantastic, because that means that you can move the Bane Wolf as much as you want, as far as you want, and still hit automatically. So you can go around just melting things. In addition, it wounds anything on a 2+ unless it is a vehicle. Specifically a vehicle, so monstrous creatures, just absolutely anything, it's now wounds on a 3+. On a 2+, sorry. Also, its AP is -3, which essentially means in the new 8th edition, this thing has AP -2 as per the old system. Sorry, AP 2 as per 7th edition, which is AP -3 in 8th edition. So it's gained additional AP, and it has gained the potential to do more shots at a longer range, more damage at a longer range. So that's pretty good. Now, the chem cannon costs 20 points, so that's fairly standard. The Hellhound chassis is 75, I believe, basic. Or is it? It's 70 or 75. So it's 90 points for a Hellhound, for a Bane Wolf, basically. Slap on a heavy bolter, you're looking at 98 points, basically 100 points, which is cheaper. The Hellhound chassis, that Bane Wolf has had a discount. Now let's move on to the actual Hellhound itself with the Inferno cannon. I would say overall the Inferno cannon has had a big, big buff. Okay, it has had a big, big buff. So you've got 16-inch range on the Inferno cannon, which means you can stay comfortably out of your opponent's charge range and just burn the shit out of people. Now again, it's only heavy D6, but guess what? Automatically hits. It's strength 6, which means you'll be wounding most targets and even light vehicles on a 3+, which is pretty good. Inferno itself is AP -1, which is pretty okay. But the big winner here is the fact it does 2 damage. 2 damage is big. 2 damage means that this thing is perfectly happy hunting infantry of any kind, and including heavy infantry and light vehicles. Because if you let's say you get your you get 4 shots that hit automatically against a target, then you're going to wound with 3, and your opponent's going to get like a 5+ save. So he's going to, because most of the time if you're shooting this at like light vehicles, so he's going to stop 2, which means your Hellhound does 4 wounds. That's enough to cripple most light vehicles. Most vehicles which have got under 10 wounds, that's enough to do some serious damage to them. So Inferno is pretty happy targeting anything now, which is awesome. Now the melter cannon of the Devil Dog is the big loser here, simply because it's a heavy D3 weapon, so you don't even get that many shots. Now it has the whole strength 8 AP -4 D6 damage of a melter gun, but the problem is with this thing is that it's only going to be hitting on a 5+ with D3 shots, so you're really not going to be hitting very often with it, not very often at all. So really, I can't see the Devil Dog being included in a lot of lists. I can't. It's Hellhounds and Hellhound chassis vehicles are designed to speed on the battlefield, blowing shit up and using their speed to keep them safe. If you have to start using a fucking Devil Dog to sit still and lob out a few melter shots here and there, it's just not worth it. It's just plain and simple not worth it. Which is a shame. The only reason you can get away with it on vehicles like Lehman Russes is because on the Lehman Russ, you're never going to take the basic Lehman Russ, but on the Lehman Russ Tank Commander and PASC, moving doesn't reduce your firepower that much because you're still hitting on 3s and 4s. So the Hellhound, just say, the Devil Dog is not a good tank. However, Banewolf and Hellhound have had solid buffs and solid reduction in points. Each Hellhound's roughly going to cost you, if you put a Hull Heavy Flamer on there as well, you are laughing. Hull Heavy Flamer, you're looking at about 110 points, roughly guys, about 110 points per one of these vehicles. And that's a discount, that's 15 points cheaper, roughly, than what you're currently paying in 7th edition. And they will be burning everything. Because don't forget, these things automatically hit. That includes against flyers. So you just point a Hellhound at a flyer, you burn it out of the sky, literally. It sounds a bit unrealistic, but it's actually pretty good. Now let's look at some of the abilities of the Hellhound. Of course it explodes. They all do. Comes with smoke launchers for free, which is great. Vehicle Squadron. Now this is the interesting one. Vehicle Squadrons have changed now. So you can buy up to 3 Hellhounds or Banewolves or Devil Dogs as a single fast attack choice. But they don't, when you deploy them on the battlefield, they have to be deployed within 6 inches of each other. But after that, they can act independently. So there's no more of this, one of your Hellhounds gets charged and the enemy gets 2 vehicle destroyed results, so it blows up both Hellhounds in the squadron. No. Now, your vehicle, they all act independently, can do whatever they want. So that's really good. That's just a nice way of you just getting multiple squadrons on the field and not being punished for it. So, like I said, this is a pretty feel-good episode guide. I mean, we've had a bit of a poo time with the Devil Dog, but the Hellhound and the Banewolves, they're laughing, they're loving it. And Vehicle Squadrons are now had a big buff, and Guard were the people that use Vehicle Squadrons the most. So that's great. So overall, I say the Hellhound is a nice, cheap vehicle with great damage potential. I mean, if you rock one of these with the Hull Heavy Flame and Inferno Cannon, that's 2d6 attacks, hits automatically, AP -1. They're doing 1 or 2 damage. The Inferno Cannon's doing 2 damage. I mean, it's a solid thing. I honestly think Hellhounds have the potential to become the new mainline battle tank of the Imperial Guard. I know it sounds like a pretty crazy statement, but I think Hellhounds have that capability. They're fast, they hit hard, and they always hit, and they do a lot of damage. So, yeah, Hellhounds are the new go-to mainline battle tank for the Imperial Guard, which I love because I've got 4 of them. Woo! Now, moving on to the next. The next big winner is the Basilisk, and the Basilisk clocks in at 110 points, guys. But and the Earthshaker cannon is free, so you don't pay for the Earthshaker cannon, but you do have to pay for your heavy bolter. So at the least, you're paying 118 points for a Basilisk, which means they are now 7 points cheaper than they were. Great, so bear that in mind. Now, the Basilisk is an interesting vehicle. It's at full capacity. It's got weapon skill. Ballistic skill 4+, movement 12, so it's pretty rapid. Strength 6, toughness 6, wounds 11, so pretty durable, and a 3+ save. So they're pretty good in terms of durability. I mean, they're only toughness 6, which is a shame. But they are, even though they're toughness 6, they're still pretty durable. Now let's take a look at the sexy Earthshaker cannon, because this thing has had a nice little buff. So the Earthshaker cannon has a range of 240 inches, but it has no minimum range now, guys. So, awesome. It's heavy D6, so only gets 3 shots, but it's strength 9, AP -2, D3 damage. But the real winner here is its special rule. When rolling for the number of attacks when firing the main gun, the Earthshaker cannon, you roll 2d6 and pick the highest. That's really good, guys. That means on average you should be getting a solid 4 shots. It just reduces that chance. Pardon me. It just reduces that chance of you just getting a crummy roll. 4 shots. You're only going to hit with 2. That's true, but you're going to wound. You're going to get some damage on them. The Basilisk can put down, for a cheap price, the Basilisk can throw down a solid 2 wounds a turn. 2 or 3 wounds a turn. And it has, unlike the Lehman Russ, it has a much greater capacity to get the money shot, get the heavy D6 and get the 6. It has a much greater capacity to do that simply because it has 2d6, pick the highest for the number of shots, which is fantastic. There's not much more to say about it. They can be taken in squadrons. Again, they can replace the heavy bolter with a heavy flamer, but you don't really want to be doing that. Of course, I should say it can shoot targets out of line of sight. That should go without saying. It's got a barrage weapon. Heavy stubber or storm bolter, you won't really need those. Hunter killer missiles, you won't really need them. Vehicle squadron, explode, smoke launcher, bada bing, bada boom. So, 2 solid vehicles here, guys. Not much to say about them, but not much more to say about them. Overall, I haven't playtested them yet, but I am planning on having a couple of 2 or 3, maybe 4 games of 8th edition this weekend. So that's from the 3rd till the 4th. I'll be playing lots of 8th edition. Try and get a battle report out. If I can't, I'll definitely do some post-action analysis reports for you guys, so I can tell you what worked, what didn't. But I will definitely be fielding in those battles a couple of Hellhounds, a couple of Basilisks. We're going to be playing between 1,000 and 1,500 points, just while we get used to it. And I can easily see the Basilisk and the Hellhound becoming the new go-to vehicles for the Guard. Whilst they're not quite as durable as the Lehman Russ, they are pretty... They put out a lot of DACA. And that's important. So, I'm feeling pretty positive about these 2 units. Overall, I know we've had a bit of a... I want to say something before I sign off. I've had some people sort of feel like I'm coming across quite negatively about the Imperial Guard in 8th edition. And I can say, honestly, that that's not the case. I am really positive about Imperial Guard in 8th edition. We have yet to see some of the really amazing things in this codex. Like, obviously I've seen them, and maybe you guys have seen them elsewhere, but I've yet to do a video on them. Trust me when I say probably the worst units have already been done. And if you think about what units we've covered, none of them are terrible. I can say in the Imperial Guard book, there is not a single unit which is outright terrible. Even things like the Master of Ordnance, it's not outright terrible. You know, it's taking a Master of Ordnance won't cripple you and handicap you massively. And that's what I can say. If I want to sum up my feelings about the Guard Index so far, is some units are decidedly average, and some units are decidedly above average, but nothing is completely terrible and useless. And I can say with confidence that some of you out there are pretty worried about your armies and saying, oh, you know, Chimeras are complete dirt and all that. And I can say to you now, like, Chimeras are not complete dirt, because a lot of transports and a lot of vehicles out there have been heavily nerfed and given massive points increases. So vehicles are a little bit weaker overall, but the Imperial Guard, none of their vehicles are absolutely terrible, and a lot of them are average to good, like we're seeing here with the Hellhound and the Basilisks. So have confidence, guys. The Imperial Guard is going to be marching to war with confidence in its step. It's not all about the pure infantry. It's not all about the pure armour. I feel like Imperial Guard is going to be a solid combined arms force. And that's fantastic. That's what we should always be striving to do. A solid combined arms force. I feel infantry are going to be really powerful. And I feel some tanks are going to be really good. Like the Leman Russ have taken a bit of a hit. But even so, comparing the Leman Russ to some of the other vehicles out there, it's, if you keep it still, it's still a solid gun platform. So bear that in mind. It's just not good on the move, guys, but it's fine at staying still and putting out the Daka. So, sorry for going off on a bit of a tangent. Bringing it back round. Hellhounds, Basilisks, they're perfectly good. They're going to be putting out firepower. Expect to be seeing lots of Hellhounds and Basilisks Imperial Guard armies. I reckon a good Imperial Guard player playing at about 2,000 points won't leave home with at least 1 to 2 Basilisks and 1 to 2 Hellhounds. They're pretty powerful. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Tell me what you guys think about these units. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.